Hello. Hope you're all well. Hope you can hear me. Microphone's on, but I can't hear myself. So you know what it's like with me in tech. Welcome to Rokk Around the Clock. It's the 10th of June, 2020. And I have some amazing guests today. Not one, not two, three for the price of one today. And it is, of course, our very good friends, Tom, Richie, and Chris from the Sounds of Stadia. So let's not muck about. Let's get these chaps out. Here they come. So 1, 2, 3.
Hello,
guys. How are you?
I love that. That's one thing I love about these streams. It's just like, pop, here they are.
Yeah, no.
You caught me just as I was adjusting my glasses as well.
Oh, sorry, Richie. I had to succumb to paying for StreamYard. I've tried everything else. I tried to be brave and do it myself, and in the end, it was like, oh, what the heck?
Hey, if there's a platform out there that does it for you, why take advantage of it, right? That's what it's there for.
Yeah, exactly that. Fantastic. So, how are you guys?
Can't complain. Cannot complain. I'm feeling good. Can't speak for the rest of these chaps, but you know.
No. See, I love the fact that you've kind of all got RGB going on with your blues and your reds and stuff. You've sort of got, yeah. Look at this. Sort of there you go. There's green. So now we've got the full color spectrum.
That's how we roll.
I sometimes like when we accidentally get a gradient across all three windows.
It's not planned, I promise you. We just
No, it's great. I mean, I should come up with something different, and then we've got the full rainbow for Pride Month, haven't we?
Ooh,
so
we
maybe
that's a good shout.
Yeah.
See what we got here. Something.
Oh, look, everyone's got the same remote as well.
I know. It's
I've got like 6 of them.
Yeah. There's some guy in Thailand that's knocking these out. And, you know.
He's a millionaire.
He's just had an influx of orders. What's going on?
Yeah. We could all do that thing where you hand it around as well. So I can pass it up to Rokk if he just takes that off me. There you go, mate. There you go. Yeah, all gone.
Here you go. There's yours, Tom.
Oh, cheers. Thank you. Here you go, Richie.
Cheers, mate.
Here you go.
And that is how we rock, ladies and gentlemen. Well, listen, it's great to have you guys on. I'm a huge fan of your work. You are on, am I right in saying show 37 or 38 now?
Yeah, 37 just recorded, 38 this upcoming week.
Amazing. And I bet it feels like it was only yesterday.
I feel like a lot's changed since yesterday, but yeah.
I know. Okay, maybe I was talking out loud there. I mean, to be fair.
In some ways, it does feel like 2 seconds. Other days, you think back as like glancing at the show notes, like episode 1 and 2, it's like, wow, that was bad.
Suddenly got like 150 pages of notes that we've got going on in the background. It's just like, what? Where has all of this come from?
Yeah. You could. Did you start? Was it when you started? Was it an audio podcast only, and then you progressed into YouTube?
It was audio, and we always had the YouTube video up running, but at the time, with our technology limitations and everything, we just had a static image with it playing it in the background. And then as we evolved at the time, we saw the people in the community. We thought best to probably get on the video front because it's so much better looking at people's faces than it is just a still image for an hour or so.
Particularly 3 handsome gentlemen like your very good selves.
Thank you very much. You're too bad yourself.
You know, say it as you see it.
We do try.
Yeah. There's some interesting stuff. Like the first 3 episodes, I didn't even have a webcam, so we couldn't have even recorded it.
No, because and didn't you in the early days? Didn't you? Pre-COVID, didn't you all come together as well and kind of do it in the same room? And
yeah, we did a live episode of the podcast for the first, the inaugural Sounds of Stadia Super Saturday event hosted by Stadia Source. So we tried to do the episode live, and if you think it's nerve-wracking going on camera to like just our regular viewers in a pre-recorded show, try doing it. I think we followed Stadia Cast, and we had, I think they sent over about 300 viewers, if I remember rightly, chaps. And sat there with the script notes, with the camera in Richie's living room, about to go live. All of a sudden, the nerves really hit him. Shit, I'm about to go live.
Welcome to the Sounds of Stadia podcast.
What made things worse is halfway through, the mic stand that we're using, it was my cheap one, imploded on us and actually killed the stream.
No. Oh, struth.
Yeah.
I remember it. It was great because that whole first Super Saturday, I wasn't involved in the community at all at that point. I hadn't even done any streaming at all in my life. So, I was just kind of watching you as a punter, and it's, oh wow, these guys are so good, and who's this Wiggy guy? Wow, he's amazing. It's like just one after another. It's so bizarre. It just seems literally to me like a couple of weeks ago. It's just shot past.
Definitely.
Most bizarre.
The world is whizzing by us.
It certainly is. So you guys all went to university together or school?
Ooh,
not even
no.
I went to nursery with Chris.
Did you?
Yeah.
No babies.
These two chaps go way back. They go way back. Right. As for me, I'm the outsider. I sort of like forced myself. I'm the wedge that's been forced in between them right here. No, I know the two gents through my fiance, and we've become really good friends since meeting, and we all have. Well, Chris seems to think otherwise.
Just about tolerate him because he's good in the techie
just
side.
About.
Yeah. He's also an amazing designer. I have to just. I mean, I've said this to you guys before. I'm always so impressed with your work, Tom. I mean, you really do have a great, and I know that isn't your line of business, which is always impresses me the more, to be frank.
It's all self-taught. I suppose I just, get bored and I just sit around and fiddle with things and enjoy the creative side of stuff sometimes. So, yeah. Thank you.
I've probably done these creative for free. I get to watch them pretty much create the thumbnails every week live.
And Richie, I've been meaning to ask this for ages. The guitars behind you on the wall there.
Yeah.
So what's the story? Because they look like proper professional ones.
Well, they're not that expensive. But as a teenager, I used to play a lot of guitar. I was never very good, so I never really went with it. It was never like a career plan or anything. So that one there, I bought when I think I must have been 15 years old. I'm 30 now, so it's ancient.
Yeah.
And that one is when I started my first ever full-time job. That was my first payslip.
Wow. So do you just play for fun? Is it for yourself?
Yeah.
Do you in a band or?
No, I've never actually been in a band. I'm not good enough. I'm lazy. I don't practice enough. But it's always been a dream as someone who's like, I've always liked guitars and I like playing them, to have them wall mounted. Last year I bought my house and it took me till like last month to actually get around to sticking them up.
They look great. So there's no fear of a Sounds of Stadia band then, because the kind of name works and everything.
Well, I'm really pushing for Richie to do a live rendition of our theme tune one time.
It's a really hard thing to play. And I can't find the music for it.
I think it's been loosely described as a kind of disco meets porn, 70s porn track.
That's exactly pretty much what we were going for.
Yeah, it kind of works. Chris, have you got any kind of secret hobbies that you want to share with us while nobody's watching?
Not secret hobbies, no, definitely not. There wouldn't be a secret if I told you all now, would it?
Well, this is true.
No, not really. I mean, gaming's always been my biggest hobby. I've dabbled in football, just wrapped up playing Sunday League because I'm getting to that age now where the old knees don't quite run as well as they used to. But other than that, it's usually just socialising with friends and playing games and trying to amass a lovely Blu-ray collection that I've got behind me, which is all my just memorabilia over the years. And similar to Richie, now you've got a house, you've got somewhere to put it all. So get it out, display loud and proud, and that's now my backdrop rather than a green screen. So it worked out in the long run.
Perfect. Well, none of you've gone down the green screen route, have you? So, funny enough, just before we came on, I thought I'd flick on a bit of the old original Star Wars in 4K because it's on Disney Plus, and I was like, wow, because I was there, guys. I literally was there. I mean, it was 77, I think, in the UK. I was 10 years old, so I was that age where it's like, Star Wars, amazing. But it looks so good on
that was my 4K. I think when I was 10 it was probably the episode 1
Phantom Menace,
so
pretty
the second one.
Yeah,
I was probably about 30 when you were 10.
I remember going to see Return of the Jedi when it came out re-released in the cinemas, and what I think was like 93 or something around that, 93, 95, I want to say. So
because they remastered them, didn't they?
They did, yeah. That was the was that the dreaded changing of the hologram, or was that no, because that would have been post episode.
I think it was the DVD ones where they started to tweak it far too much than was required.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
to have been there at the original, though, I'm very, very envious of that, because I would have loved to have had that story.
Oh, so. I mean, I remember the whole year before then. Me and my mate Tim James We had all the collection of the figures. I had the album and the whole lot, and we hadn't even seen the film, so that it was by far the best marketing I think that had ever kicked in for any movie. To be that engrossed in it before it even came out was amazing. Now we very recently got we had the creators PUBG tournament, which you guys it was your idea, it was your baby, and it was immaculately conceived. No, that wasn't the phrase I was looking for. It was
especially that lobby.
It was brilliantly executed. I mean, it was so well executed. I mean, is that something you've wanted to do for a while, and suddenly PUBG's here? Let's do something like this.
Yeah, I think it's been something that I've always wanted to try to conceptualize. I've conceptualized it for quite a long time, but now we've actually got like a solid knit community. It just seemed like it was there waiting to happen at some point. It's something that I feel was a really good opportunity to bring the whole community together and just raise a little bit more awareness. Obviously, we've had the huge success of Super Saturday, but sometimes it's just nice to like slice it up and have little events in between. It took a lot more planning than I was originally expecting it to. Like, there's a lot of like stuff going on behind the scenes. I reached out to Stadia and to the PUBG team as well to talk about their involvement and so on. And that's a story for another day. But you know how that turned out in the end. But no, it went down really well. I'm really, really happy with everyone getting involved in it, and the community clearly loved it. And I definitely think it opens up scope again for the future for bringing things like that to the table. As to what that will be, though, that still remains to be seen.
Another PUBG. Sorry, Richard.
One of the biggest things I thought was your concept of the lottery round, because while we have we do occasionally appear in other people's shows, this was an opportunity where we're just going to jump in over each other's teams, and we've got to figure it out. Yeah. That was sorry.
No, I'm the one that's always interrupting.
No, it was something that I thought. It's just we get a lot of opportunities to obviously guest on other people's shows, but you never really fully see like the gaming side of it per se. Like there are some within the community who do heavily get involved in that, but for ourselves, we haven't had much opportunity to do that. And I thought it'd be really nice not just to have those pre-made groups that you often see on streams, but let's just throw it to the wall and see what sticks, and just let everyone go for whatever. And the lottery round, I think, actually was really a pleasant surprise, and definitely something that I think will be making a return in the future. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I sort of piggybacked off of Duncan's team because I don't have any friends, as you know. So it was quite, and I'm useless at PUBG, but it was such a lot of fun. It was really good fun. And as I said, I was just amazed at how well you'd pulled the whole thing together, because that was no small feat. No, it was a lot of work in that. Yeah, well done, guys. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I admire about you guys anyway, and that is that everything you do in and around the show is really innovative. I mean, you're always thinking about doing something a little bit different, about whether it's streaming a game or, whether there's something within the content that you're doing. I mean, I'm guessing that's a conscious effort, and that, you probably put a lot of work into that.
Yeah, we kind of just spitball ideas back and forth. We obviously, as you'd expect, have our own chat groups and stuff away from the community, and that's where the idea kind of started off. We just added each other into the group, and then got a collective desire to talk about Stadia and gaming, and then pulled it together. But I think what's really worked the best is because we are three individuals, but we're also friends. We very much have that great dynamic where bad ideas we not shoot down, but we constructively add to them and tweak and mold them into what you see essentially on the channel when it goes live. But yeah, we have loads of chats behind the scenes about what we want to do, what we wish we could do in the future. And the reality is we are three individuals with full-time demanding careers as well. And you'll know yourself trying to find the time to commit to Stadia on like a regular basis. And we're doing our best. We do have plans in the future. But that's why it's great with the podcast, because we can lock down a time every week to just get an hour or so of pure Stadia chat, and then like kind of tweak it a little bit and put it out to the public on a regular basis. But yeah, more to come.
There's definitely an element of grounding in there as well, as Chris said. Like sometimes we can be thinking of really, really crazy ideas and stuff that will never really come to fruition simply because we haven't got the time or the manpower to do it. But the ideas are there, and as Chris said, like the opportunity to be able to bounce these ideas back and forth off each other, we eventually get something out of it. So it's definitely sort of having three heads is better than one kind of idea, really. But we, again, we are constructively critical of what we're doing as well. So we always definitely make sure that what we release eventually is something that we know we'll be really happy with, and it's not too demanding on us, especially under current circumstances.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think you do a cracking job. I'm going to be risking in a second sounding like a real toady. So I think we probably need to move quickly on to the news before they go, get on with it, Rokk. So it's been a funny old week, hasn't it, in terms of news? It's been a bit bitty. We've sort of pulled together a few bits and pieces. But let's see how we go. Nothing major's happened today. So I guess the first thing that I want to just have a quick look at was half an hour ago, we had the launch of the IGN Summer of Gaming, which of course is the sort of online replacement for E3. Have you guys been looking at what's coming up? Is there anything that catches your fancy?
I've been trying to, but the graphics are terrible. The resolution in them is terrible. It's hard to read.
Yeah, They put out like 3 images, didn't they, of like the schedule that runs across all 10 days, I believe it runs for or so. Mm-hmm. But they have finalized it down to a website. I'm actually surprised at how little seems to be on show. I think they were one of the bigger outlets to announce we're going to be taking over E3, and I have a feeling they've almost had the rug pulled out from under them a little bit with the content they were probably wanting to showcase. And now all the companies have broken off, and Ubisoft are doing their own thing. PlayStation obviously have theirs tomorrow, and Xbox are doing their own thing separately. It kind of, I feel like a lot of the content they were wanting to kind of showcase has gone the separate way almost, and it hasn't been the E3 replacement they were probably hoping for as like the #1 news outlet in the world.
Chris, I'm sorry, you're kind of hidden by a big IGN. Let me just get rid of that. There you go.
There he is. He's back.
How dare they? So I think this is a speed run on Doom, isn't it? I think is that the first thing there.
So what platform that's on?
Not sure. I'm going to assume
Stadia.
It's PC. I'd assume it's PC.
Yeah.
Just looking at the frame rate in the top right corner.
I mean, they've. I was going to say they've got the obligatory caps on, but that chap is actually doing it. I don't think he's eaten in 7 weeks. Look at him, poor chap.
Yeah. So he reckons he can beat. Well, he has beaten the game in 1 hour and 30. So for charity, he's trying to beat his speed run as well. Yeah. The entire campaign. That's he's currently roughly around where I was when I last played the game, and I'm pretty sure at this point he's 18 minutes in, 17 minutes in. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've been doing it for probably about 3.5, 4 hours, perhaps.
and I'm nowhere near this, and I struggle with it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like GDC and the charity streams they do for speedrunners and stuff. But typically, from what I know I'm not a speedrunner myself, but to have a brand new game to be optimized this well already is quite impressive.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. It says, so they're counting down. So they're giving him, like you've said, sort of a less than 1.5 hours by the looks. Yeah, and he's doing very well. Well, good luck to him, whoever he is. I'm sure he knows exactly what he's doing. Right. So, well, I guess the key. Well, we'll leave him up for a second. I guess the key thing for me is that we know Stadia are making an appearance, but there's nothing in the show listing that indicates when. And of course, famously, they're not saying anything. There's a couple of sort of unannounced slots, which I keep meaning to sort of just try and pencil them in just in case. But what do you guys think they're likely to show or talk about when they do make an appearance?
I'll be surprised if they make an appearance just based on their own current absence in the social media world. It'd be surprising if they actually turn up on time. No, I kid. I do think that they were listed to turn up, so I assume we definitely will see something. As to what, I have no idea. Is it going to be more about the platform and the future of the platform, or is it going to be more about games that are coming to Stadia? And even then, there's sort of a question within that. if it is games with like on Stadia, is it games we already know about, or are they new announcements? More speculation.
Yeah.
It's really hard to tell with Google at the moment. And I think, to be honest, it's such a very Google move at the moment to go, yeah, we're going to be at this IGN Summer of Gaming's event. We're not going to tell you when. We'll let you know 5 minutes before, then wonder why no one shows up.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it could be the Connect, right? Like, if they want more eyes on the Connect, other than people who are subscribed to the channel or follow them on Twitter, you're not really going to know it's a thing that's going live unless you've seen it on a news outlet. So maybe they could slice the Connect in here somewhere.
Well,
we know
the
we're
last
getting
one,
right?
They crammed the last one into between 10-15 minutes. So we know they can do it, and that's very likely going to be the next one as well. So perhaps could be correct.
It could be going about the other way.
Yeah.
If they could be going about the other way by not telling people when they're coming, they're hoping that the IGN audience will be tricked into watching Stadia content, where they might be worried that people might not care a bit.
Stadia by stealth.
Yeah.
Shadow Stadia. Do you remind? Can you guys remember with the last Connect how long before they announced it was coming? It was only days, wasn't it?
Oh, that's a really.
I feel like it might have been
immediately.
Yeah,
it happens. Let's just move on.
I feel like it might have been more like perhaps 2 to 3 weeks before, rather than days.
We had enough time to plan a reaction.
Yeah.
So we had enough time to actually get like a date set in, make sure we were free, get a graphic up and running. So it wasn't a stealth drop, that was for sure.
No.
Where's Duncan? He'll know.
Yeah, Duncan will know. So yeah, that would be an unusual thing if they just suddenly appeared and said, "Hey, it's the Summer Connect" on that basis.
Yeah,
not having given us any.
But it's June though, right? I'm not going crazy and thinking.
No,
summer.
They just said the summer. What it was, Chris, and I thought the same. It was because the 3 months trial ended in June that we all assumed that one would follow the other. But no, Eddie put me right on that one a while back, and it's true. If you watch the Connect, it simply says see you in the summer, and there's a couple of orcs and stuff doing their thing. So yeah, we don't know. I mean, it could be any time up until August or something, I guess.
Yeah. I'm actually hoping how they went kind of really quiet on most of social medias is because they've got something big in the works, but I've been disappointed before.
I know that is the thing. You do think, you sort of think they're building hype, and if they are, hat off to them. But then nothing happens, and you sort of feel a bit deflated, don't you? So you're sometimes better to not expect it. But we do know that they're showing or talking about something. That said, I remember there was a show earlier in the year that they were at, but I don't remember there being very much said at all. I think they did a 5-minute slot or something. I know it was was it the GDC? Yes, right. And we were all expecting some news about Stadia and maybe some sort of big features release and stuff. And of course, it was interesting, but it was more about the developers' side, which they seem to be able to communicate more easily around for some reason than they do to consumers. But we shall see. Hopefully, not too soon.
I think there's probably I always felt we were being probably a bit unfair with Google when it came to GDC because it's a developer conference. I think the expectations were because this is where they kind of announced the platform, which when you think about it, it's probably a weird choice for GDC.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do still find it quite strange as well with a company as large as Google. We know the Stadia branch is effectively new, but I'd like to think the training along some point or the professionalism of the people they've employed so far, that they'd have something a little bit more what feels structured to present us. But for example, at the GDC talks, they were great. I felt they were really well put together. The Connect was really well put together. But there's little inconsistencies with things like with the GDC talks, we assumed that they were going to be back to back. But at the end of the introduction, it was like, here's 6 videos for you to go and watch and have at it, so to speak. They're all live now. So I sort of feel like that I hope they clean things up, particularly if they are going to be appearing at the Summer of Gaming, then we definitely sort of need to feel that they're doing it right, shall I say.
Yes.
There's no other way of putting it. They need to do it right, really, because it's a big audience that's out there.
Yeah. And I guess that's why we're hoping they will drop something of value, because it would be a little embarrassing for them if they turned up and said nothing. But we shall
I think
see.
it's just the level of inconsistencies for me. Like we had the community update that was supposed to come on every other Thursday, if I'm not right, and then we tend to get like news and games drop on a Tuesday, and then rightly so. Last week, everyone stepped aside for more important voices to be heard, and then I think there's just been nothing. I think we've looked at it through, like Duncan pointed out on the Reddit threads, and I've mentioned it to our guys and our chat, that the Twitter and the Reddit threads have just been like silent for 10+ days now. And if you look at any other big business, like a business of this size, like Google, they shouldn't be sitting silent for more than a day at a time. Surely they've got stuff to bring out every 24 hours as a minimum, you'd think.
Well, the weird one I've always felt that's quite odd is Google have access to all of the metadata for Nintendo, for Microsoft, for Sony, for practically everyone in the world because they own YouTube. Yes. So how did they get this wrong?
Yeah, legally they're probably not allowed to leverage that for regulation reasons. I would have thought that's probably all kept
on the platform.
I mean, if you want to have a look through that collection of big data, then by all means, please. Because
you don't even need to go that deep. You just need to go look where the big hitters are, and then look into this event got this many views. When did they announce it? How did they announce it?
I don't.
Yeah, we could do that on YouTube right now. Like, look, there's 7,000 people watching Doom Eternal, so maybe throw out a Doom Eternal tweet right now if your Stadia account.
I have noticed a couple of comments about Stadia in the chat, but we won't repeat them.
Well, I think people are frustrated, aren't they? And rightly so. I totally agree with what you guys are saying. My fear is that they, at the moment anyway, are hamstrung by legals. And that every time they want to say something or they want to put out a press release, they've got to pass it through a legal department that probably services the whole of a particular scale of Google, and they're not seen as a priority. And by the time they get legal clearance, it's all moved on and they don't bother. And I think there's an element of that that's going on. I hope that they fix that. And they can only fix it by having their own legal department that can square that off. Also, of course, YouTube is a different division within Google. And although we see the two as very much joined at the hip, I feel that they probably operate as two different units. And that's partly why they've talked about, excuse me, State Share as beta, because it isn't something they've got complete control over, with it being via YouTube, a separate division within Google. So you can imagine the mechanics of how Google works is probably quite different to how we all work in our working lives and what we'd expect.
Yeah, I think we forget sometimes it's going to be humans that are behind all these decisions, and the reality is, as you're alluding to there, is they are separate divisions, and the Stadia one's new, and it's probably no different than any business that we work at. Somebody new starts, they've got a similar job role to you, but from maybe a different division, a different department. You're told you have to then work in collaboration with them, but you don't know if they're in it for your job or they're not. And when somebody says, right, let's get a message out to the public, who's in control of that? Do you have to run that by this department? Yeah, I think you're right in saying a lot of stuff just probably gets lost in the mix a little bit.
I think
and then you said that the moment's gone. They're too late. Just look at the the Destiny news from yesterday. Not a peep about that, yet we've got pre-orders and such went up and nothing. So it's the left hand doesn't quite know what the right's doing sometimes.
And, for all we know, their actual marketing team, and there's bound to be one, may be relatively small. Again, we think of Stadia as this large organization with lots of money, but that doesn't necessarily follow that there are lots of people within each of these departments. So, they may themselves be struggling, and who knows, they may have come from other departments within Google and don't have the sort of experience that they're learning on the job. I mean, I'm giving them some rope. But it still doesn't really excuse it.
Yeah, but we should try to remain optimistic about things as well, because it's not all doom and gloom at the end of the day. They have the opportunity here to really pull it out of the bag and actually try to turn things around. I say try to turn things around as if it's failing. The reality is it's not failing, because there are people like us. There's people like the awesome community that we have who are very much invested in it. Yes, there's a little bit of upset and unrest, shall we call it, within the ranks, but it just takes that one bit of news to just switch everything around again. The one bit of news and the correct news, and everything's back on track again.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, if you look at player numbers alone, Destiny was relatively down again until the news about the new Destiny expansions. Then suddenly, bam, everyone's back on Destiny again.
That's just typical MMO cycles anyway. My skepticism is coming from, I think they've got the opportunity to do something really amazing because the technology absolutely 100% works. There's just the things around it and not quite there. They might hope. I keep hoping that moment where everything clicks for them will come soon.
Yeah.
And we've got PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X breathing down their neck now.
Yes. Well, that's a good segue. Thank you, Richie.
You're welcome.
So the next piece of news that I wanted to cover off is that tomorrow, and we'll just get rid of our friend who's doing very well here. I have to say, I've been secretly watching him.
Yeah,
is that
Yes.
doing very well. Tomorrow we have the release or the reveal, shall I say? And no, I don't wish to join Telegraph for 1 month or forever, in fact, so they can go. We have the is it tomorrow? It is the 11th, isn't it? So tomorrow is the now I think 3 times postponed reveal of the PS5. Now I happen to know, a little bird tells me, Tom, that you and I share an interest in PlayStation.
Oh, not just me.
Destiny.
Not just me.
No, Richie as well. Oh,
and
damn.
even further down that list.
Ethel, sack the researcher.
I think Chris is the biggest PlayStation fan of the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
We're all very relatively die-hard PlayStation prior to Stadia, to be honest with you.
Were you?
Yes. Yeah.
So are you guys excited then about this forthcoming reveal?
Very.
Yeah,
if I'm being
hyped.
Yep.
As hyped as I can be. So it's weird because I don't feel like we even need another generation quite at this point. Like I haven't looked at one game the last 4 or 5 years though. Oh, that could look better. Like every game that I play on my 4K TV, I just think, wow, this is beautiful. Like games look so freaking good now. And yet here we are on the cusp of a new generation with everyone firing all guns blazing on triangle polygons and up-res and resolutions, everything like that. It's crazy. But
this news will take over. It'll take over the internet tomorrow.
Yes, it will.
I mean, just have to look at Twitter today. PlayStation came out with a little hashtag where it's got the PS5 controller, and the internet's gone crazy 30 hours before the damn event's even started.
Yes, I saw that.
Little things like that are just chipping away at like the mindset and the share that's going around of the news.
This is, by the way, I don't know if you've seen this, guys. Unfortunately, it is on the Sun, and that does break my heart that I have to show this on here. But it's essentially a concept piece that was made by some guy who reckons he picked up some leaks. And to be fair, whether it is or it isn't, it's a nice piece of artwork. So I thought I'd play it in the background. Yeah, I feel the same way as you. We're still getting some really amazing looking games on the PS4 Pro. And you know, it's interesting to see what the 5 is going to turf out. The video that we saw, the Unity 5 video, of course, was amazing. But my fear is that the amount of hard drive space or SSD space required to hold that level of multi-layered textures and shaders and so on is probably more than the PS5 or the Xbox combined. So I'm not actually sure how much realistic that is that we'll see a game of that quality. But it's
going to be interesting. Actually, I almost feel like PlayStation could have held off on the PS5 for about maybe 3-4 years easy.
Yeah,
I think it's Microsoft's almost forced their hand because Microsoft definitely needed a new generation refresh. They've been doing awesome stuff at the end of this generation, and I think they need that new refresh to get people reinvested. But going to the space and the drive, that's one of the advantages of Stadia right there. You don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely. There's
Sorry,
no
I'm
question.
just laughing at this concept thing now. Like, how many people will be fooled and think, I guarantee you it looks nothing like this. Especially with Grand Theft Auto. But it's that clickbait article of the day before the news drops, put the title in, leaks, concept, reveal, and you just get, how many people will have shared this with their mates saying, look how good this looks, and how many people go, oh!
2.5 million views easy money.
Get our YouTube
you guys are way too cynical. I knew it.
Just the fact that the Grand Theft Auto disc showed up, whereas we know Rockstar are going to be working on that for another half a decade.
You know what I'm optimistic about this? They've went for single tone consoles and peripherals. I hate the two-tone look. I think it
so,
just looks
very interestingly from what you've just said, Chris, about Rockstar possibly working on GTA 6 for another half a decade or so. There was a little bit of news floating around Twitter today that's been sort of dug up about basically just sort of like pieces that have been dropped on Amazon as placeholders effectively for pre-orders on upcoming PS5 games and the PS5 console as well. I think we actually may have some sort of speculation, albeit again, it's purely speculation. There's no real hard evidence for it at the moment, that we might have a price for a 2 terabyte version of the console as well, which sits at a neat $599.99.
I kind of think that needs to be entry level, 2 terabyte, because I have a 1 terabyte PlayStation and that thing fills up.
Yeah.
If you're getting better games, high graphical fidelity, mine's not a pro, mine's not 4K. You up that to 4K and the space, it's just going to drop it away anyway. So I think probably 2 terabyte probably needs to be the default going forward.
Needs to be the entry, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Costs more though.
Yeah, that's it, and they have to hit that price
keep
point.
going down year on year. So,
but it's a throwback. I mean, we know this is concept art. It is fan made, supposedly made by leaks, but it's very sort of symbolic of the PS3, the original PS3, from the looks of it to me as well. When I look at the shape of it, that rounded top on it. And again, price-wise, that's very much PS3 as well, $599 US dollars.
Yes. No, I mean, this is a concept piece.
Yes.
And it's, as you rightly said, Richie, it's highly unlikely to look anything like this whatsoever. But it's nonetheless, it's prettier than just looking at some words, I thought.
Yeah, that's true. You could have put the logo up again. That got like the most likes on Instagram, didn't it, than any other technology brand ever. Yeah, it was like millions for just a logo, even though it's just PS5.
Wow.
But whatever the terabytes are, don't need it on Stadia, do we?
Well, you know, and I think it's timely for us to keep reminding people that that's the case. And it was something that I'd said at the time that the Unity 5 piece was shown, you know, that is, sorry, that's not me, that's the chair. I just want to make that clear. Because, you know, they could deliver a game with that scale of graphic on a cloud-based platform like Stadia, but you cannot deliver it on a console, and you're going to struggle on a PC because there is a physical limit to the amount of space you can put on there. And of course, there is Mainframe, which I don't know if you guys have heard of, which is a cloud-based game that's currently being developed out of, I believe, Norway. It's got a significant amount of funding, and it's being deliberately made so that it could only possibly work on cloud. And that essentially means it's going to be something quite amazing in terms of its scale and scope. And I think once we start to see those kinds of titles, then people with hardware are going to go, okay, it makes sense now. Where do I sign up? So
that's what we need. That is definitely what we need. We need, as I said before, it's just that one thing that makes it all fall into place. Yeah. And that's it. And it suddenly becomes, you know, just this ever-growing utopian gaming system, should we say, the service that everybody will suddenly want to be a part of. Yes. That's what we need.
I think we often forget as well, Stadia is by far the most cost-effective way of getting into gaming. It costs nothing. Apart from game price, it costs nothing.
Well,
you're absolutely right. Yeah.
But in terms of like all the people who, like, we keep reminding ourselves on the podcast every week, that the fact that Stadia is coming into this holiday season, this Christmas, is how many parents have got the option to fork out potentially $500, $600, whatever it may be, to play, say, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, or you've already got your Xbox, your PlayStation controller, you've already got a computer in the home. It can run the same game for nothing extra by buying the game. There's your argument right there for a family of potentially a couple of children. You're saving hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and in the current climate, coming off the back of the world right now, money's going to be more important for people more than ever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only downside is, you can imagine, with all the negativity that we've certainly seen, you know, you can imagine little Johnny opens his massive box up and he's excited as anything, and then there's a piece of paper that says you've got Stadia. He's like, no, no, I wanted a PC.
Yeah, all my mates have got PS5s.
Controller in there.
You just have to suck it up.
Yeah, exactly. Tough.
Better than a
tough on
lump
you,
of
Johnny.
coal still.
Exactly. So the next thing that I wanted to just very quickly have a look at was that the last couple of days it looked as if Stadia had either messed up. And by the way, I've only brought this one on because of that handsome-looking chap there, which Stadia source very, very kindly.
That's why I'm here, Rokk. That's why I'm here.
Yes. It's like, hang on, trading standards. It looks nothing like that. I did once, I promise.
I had to do a double take on the video there. If you scroll up a bit more, I was like, the video on the video says Ori Radio. I was like, what's that? Ori Radio.
I did try to shrink it for some reason. It's good. I think it's probably in mobile mode, but there you go. There we are.
But obviously, you unearthed this story, didn't you?
I did. I don't think I unearthed the story, but I even thought I was the first to do the video, but it turns out Project Storm beat me. But I certainly got the credit, and I'm all for that. So that was nice. Exactly. So essentially, what happened is, if you had cancelled Stadia Pro, either because you were the 3-month trial period or the prior periods that we had for trial, you could go along and press a little button, and hey presto, you had another free 2 months of extra Stadia Pro. Now, somebody did say to me today that they think that's now been fixed, which would indicate that it was a problem. It was an error. It wasn't any kind of marketing ploy, which is interesting. Have you guys heard or seen that it's been reverted now to the standard pay up or
I've seen musings in the Twitterverse. Obviously, I'm not want to try and get myself, if I'm being honest with you, because I kind of I have this weird tendency to want to keep things on a streak almost, to know that it's never been cancelled and it's never been tarnished by a cancellation at some point, even though it has absolutely zero impact whatsoever to the service. But no, it's one of these things that I suppose could be there down the line, and perhaps maybe it is a feature that they're looking at possibly doing, but not ready to roll out yet. But we see it a lot with these subscription-based services these days. They either offer like a brief discounted period, shall we say, like I'll get an extra 3 months at like a third of the price or something, or they'll say, oh, here's a month on us, here's 2 months on us. So I could see it being possible.
No, one of the thoughts that I had. Sorry, Chris, I could see you were just about to go there.
I was just going to say, off the back of your video, I've cancelled mine just to see, but it had that thing where it's paid in advance until like the 20th of this month. So I'll have to wait until the 20th to find out if it's a real thing or not. And it was that I did, like Tom said, that hesitant moment over the cancel subscription. I was like, shit, am I going to lose my saves here? Yeah. Is something going to go drastically wrong? And then when I go to log back in on the 20th and evidently resubscribe, it's going to go, not this time. You're out. You're locked out now. You can stay out there with your friends until nighttime.
That's it.
Like that. Well, I can. I'm going to trial it.
Well, certainly.
The trial a burner account, but I just didn't get time today to do it. So.
Yeah. No, I did. I used. I'll just bring it up. Actually, I used an account that I created when I did an original video on how to sign up for the trial period. And I can absolutely confirm. In fact, I'll share this screen if I may. That everything's there. All the games that I'd previously had, and it had expired. I'd cancelled it so that I didn't get the $8.99 come off. Once I clicked the button and renewed it, all the games were back, all there working and claimed. So that that in itself proves that I think once you've claimed games, they're there for you for life, irrespective of whether you come or go, use a free trial period or what have you. They're always there for you, which is nice. So yeah, it's all good. Just a shame if it, unfortunately, I hope nobody cancelled, ran across to do it and found they couldn't do it on the strength of my video. I'll be absolutely gutted for them.
They'll be knocking on your door soon.
Hey, we're delivering right after you, buddy.
Grab your pitchforks, gents. We're for a good old-fashioned lynching.
You know what? I guarantee 5 years' time, someone's going to see that video, try it, and downvote your video. It's like, it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I put 400 downvotes. So moving on to the next piece, there was something else that popped up yesterday. I don't know if you guys got one of these, but it was a weird. In fact, I can't share it. I did a screen grab I was going to share with you, but there were a couple of emails. One of them just said something along the lines of, "Oh, congratulations!" I might be able to pull it up actually. Give me a second. Let me see down here. Stop screen, share screen. Yeah, one of them sort of said. No, I can't find it. Don't worry about that. One of them said, "Oh, thank you for being involved in Project Stream and the Ubisoft Assassin's Creed, and it comes to an end in a week or so, January the something, and we've put $10 or something in your account, and you can use it within the game." I thought that's very odd. And then at the same time, in my Stadia related account, the one that I use with the email for Stadia, was an invite to test for Project Stream. Now, I don't know if you guys had those emails or what your thoughts are on whether there was a connection or whether it was just a weird coincidence.
Yeah, this Project Stream thing, I've heard it could end up being quite big. I don't know about you three, but I'm sure it's going to take off. It'll be this amazing new platform. Yeah, some people might even start content and podcasts about it, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
They'll be ahead of the curve.
In terms of me, though, no, I didn't get any emails, but I did see a couple of people. It's just one of those other things where you just have to sit back and laugh, don't you, about it all, really. But clearly someone hit resend, or... I can't fathom. Yeah. So if someone was going through and deleting the Stadia emails that were supposed to be sent out, and then accidentally CC'd everyone back into the same email.
So you're not wearing the same tin hat as me then, Chris?
Potentially not. No.
No. Okay, that's fair enough.
What's your tin hat?
It's clearly just me then, isn't it? Well, my feeling was that the test email could have been Uplay Plus. And that what this is that they gathered all of the people that they had on their database for Project Stream together to email them to invite them to test it because they'd already shown an interest. So that was a database that Ubisoft own. To basically, they were sending them out. They meant to just send out an email inviting them to the trial, but accidentally sent the one from the database that they culled the data from, which is this one. Now, that doesn't mean that it's imminent, and it is pure speculation, but that's the only thing that I can think of in terms of what we think is up and coming, and would potentially be, and also, interestingly enough, in the form which I completed, they tell you that you've got to be able to do whatever they need you to do for 6 hours, not an hour or 5 minutes, 6 hours. Now, I don't think they would tell you they want you to play a game for 6 hours, but I do think that they would want you to play several games that were available within a gathering of games, i.e. Uplay Plus. So that's why I'm kind of thinking it's got something to do with that. But, that's why my middle name is Sherlock.
The original Project Stream was basically a stress test for Stadia before they announced what Stadia was. So it's entirely possible that Ubisoft will go, well, why don't we just piggyback off what we already know? It feels like you just collect a new database though for that, because there's a lot more people on Stadia now, and I'm pretty sure Google would share the pro subscription list with them because it's mutual beneficial. So that's where my skepticism is. I think it's just a mistake.
Yeah, I think you're right. I did go and check in my Uplay account to see if I did have the $10 free in-game currency, but there was nothing to be seen, sadly. So, did you guys take part in Project Stream, or did it pass you by?
No. I saw Uplay Plus on the beta test network, the global beta test network, but I was too late to get into that there. So, in terms of Uplay Plus or Project Stream, Nope.
No, not for me. That was the kind of
ship sailed.
About
I technically took part in the xCloud beta, but you needed an Xbox one controller to participate, and I don't have one, so I couldn't.
It's like that's like road testing a dog lead and not having a dog mate. I mean, you could have given that a little bit of thought beforehand, Richie, to be fair.
I mean, I could play Stadia with like a DualShock or a mouse and keyboard.
So. It works on Stadia. Why doesn't it work for you?
I wonder if my PlayStation controller. Oh no!
I've actually got a couple of Xbox 360 controllers, so there was a bit of method to the madness. I thought I might just get away with it. It didn't work.
No, I would have thought.
With these emails going out, though, you can tell it's happening from the other side of the pond, with it arriving at 4 or 3 a.m. in the morning. Though,
Yes.
so you can tell either someone's still awake and they're being a bit delirious in the early hours, or it's been sent from a different time zone to come through at 4 in the morning. Or maybe even with requiring 6 hours to try to play it, they're giving you a good head start on the morning.
That's true. Yeah,
so we'll drop out at 4 a.m. and then everyone should be good.
There's also something to be said that it was sent to Duncan. You see, Duncan seems to be the font of everything, doesn't he?
He does.
Makes my life so easy.
Sent to Duncan's at the top of all of their databases. I think that's the truth.
He's definitely at the top of certain lists as well out there.
Duncan knows more Stadia than Google do.
Yes, I think he does, to be fair. And then, funnily enough, we're going to come back to something that Tom, you mentioned earlier. That's kind of probably the big news this week, if anything, albeit not in any normal. So yes, Destiny 2 Beyond Light. And
yes.
Tom, this is where the little birdie told me that I know is true, that you're a big old Destiny fan.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
Destiny 1 and 2, or
definitely big on Destiny 1. Destiny 2, I wasn't there for the get-go, but with the advent of Stadia, I've definitely jumped into it, and I've been just absorbed into the world once again. So it's been really nice. Now I've actually had some guidance with it. I've got some friends who've played it since the beginning, and I've managed to sneakily convince them to come over to Stadia, which has blown their minds, by the way. The load time difference alone has just absolutely convinced them to stick with Stadia. But they've helped me run through some of the original campaigns, and now because of that, I've got a real good feel for the current state of Destiny. And I find myself on basically, I mean, since the announcement yesterday of the season of Arrivals and Beyond Light, I have been on it. Basically, I've essentially been on it all day today. So yeah, very excited.
Amazing, isn't it? It's engrossing. I played the alpha just after the E3 announcement in 2014, I think. And the last time I looked, I clocked up about 4,000 hours in total in Destiny.
Wow,
which is not an insignificant chunk of hours. Although by far my favorite was Destiny 1. I've struggled. I enjoyed Destiny 2 initially, and then it kind of lost me. I felt the raids just weren't the same raids that we were used to in D1. They were kind of required a degree in mathematics and geometry, and it left me cold, sadly. But I'm loving the way that the beautiful thing about Destiny and Bungie is they constantly listen and evolve and tweak and try to create. I think they genuinely do want to create an amazing product. And funny enough, I was only thinking earlier that the parallels between Stadia or Google Stadia and Bungie. You'll remember, Tom, back in the day, the Bungie used to get hammered for their lack of communication.
Yes, they did.
Very, very rarely did they come forward and talk about their roadmap and so on, until one day they realized it was not a clever move and they completely changed their course. And I'd really love to see Stadia take a similar approach.
Well, I think the announcement yesterday, the way the announcement was done, was the filming that they did, the little sit down with the two gents from Bungie sitting down. It was just done in such a good way to build up hype as well. It was everything we needed to know about what was coming for the next few years as well of Destiny. And there's literally, I'm left not really asking any questions. I've got everything I need to know. And that's it. I know where I am with the state of Destiny at the moment. I know what to expect in future, and the communication and the hype has both been built. So definitely lessons to be taken. The one thing I'm really quite excited for with this, I'm just going to talk Destiny just for a second, if that's okay with you, is the way it was almost announced is there was a lot of sort of speculation, shall I say, that after this expansion that they might move to Destiny 3. But because they announced 2 further expansions, we're talking about the Witch Queen and we're talking about Lightfall, 2021 and 2022. The way they worded it and the way they discussed it is almost as if there's going to be a rebranding of Destiny. And they're almost going to make both games and all expansions into one singular title for the next generation as well. So Destiny 2 may no longer be called Destiny 2 in a few months' time. They may rebrand it to just Destiny and have everything, all of the past content. This is the bit I quite liked as well, is they're going to put all of the past content into what they're calling the Destiny Content Vault. So it's easily accessible, but it's not overwhelming for new players getting into it as well.
Yes.
It's interesting to mention new players, because when Destiny first came out, I was pretty much burnt out on first-person shooters and MMOs at that point, so I kind of hard past it. It was only when Google Stadia came out, I jumped into Destiny. That game is not friendly to new players. You need to put a lot of time to figure out what's going on. I know for me, I just bounced, but...
I think the sad thing is that if you played Destiny 1 and then you went across to Destiny 2, you had a fairly good idea what you're in for. But if you came on board with New Light, which was the free-to-play, where they basically tried to squash everything into the first kind of few hours of gameplay, it just was... I played it with people and helped them along, and I've got confused, and I had, X thousand hours in the game. And it is sad to see how many people bailed, but still enjoyed what they played, but felt that it was too confusing and just they didn't have a grasp on the story. I hope they remedy that.
Yeah, that's the column I fell into with Richie. It was a case of I played Destiny 1 with like friends and such over the years. Destiny 2 came out, didn't get out launch, but jumped in with Stadia and very confused. I felt like I was playing the first mission from the first game again, where you're on Earth, there's all the rusty cars, and you go through like the tutorial setup. And then when you hit the Traveler, I believe it's called, and that main hub, there is so many icons and so much going on. It is very, very overwhelming, again, for someone who's so time constraint. But like Tom was saying there, that roadmap going well into 2021, it just future-proofs it for support. And now I'm thinking, actually, I do have time to jump into it because it's going to be going for years to come. So what better to jump in than before the roadmap is essentially rolled out?
So going back to what you said before as well, Rokk, is that this is where the communication comes in really key here. And this is where we know that Bungie is listening, because there were a lot of elements of confusion with New Light. And as you say, it's very overwhelming for new players. And I think Bungie have taken that feedback on board, and they've listened to it, and they've understood that actually this isn't the right way of doing things. We've got the Destiny 1 introduction followed immediately by here's loads and loads of quests. So now what I think they're doing is they're recognizing that mistake, and they're saying, okay, look, we're gonna get all of the stuff that you don't need to do but may want to if you want to catch up with the story, and we're going to put it away in a vault. We're going to put it away in a vault in essentially what I can only speculate is going to be listed in a format that's very easy to navigate and very easy to say, like, right, here's the progression through the story, through the campaigns, but you don't have to start there if you don't want to. We can throw you in on the other end of things if you want to get straight into the new stuff instead. And that's really what they should have done with New Light. And I think they tried to, but they just went about it the wrong way. So here's hoping they've taken this on board and they've made some changes there.
I think an interesting thing we need to acknowledge is they have been pivoting a lot in terms of communication and the roadmap and stuff like that over the last year, pretty much since they split with Activision. Bungie are now independent again. So basically, they can do what they like. It's easier for them to adapt to what the community is after. I'm not saying Activision are standing over, no, you can't do that, I can't do that. But when the bigger organization is, the harder it is to change anything.
Yeah, I think what Tom said about just even being a sequel, I don't think with such a massive player base on the original game, you almost like segmented the audience by making a sequel, because then you had everyone who jumped in day one, those who couldn't afford it or didn't want to get around to it for other reasons. And now you had these two different ones, and they tried to bring as much as the original game into number two, like Tom said, with the kind of cold opening of number one. And it's just created confusion, whereas I think this roadmap and the rebranding going into next gen is a really good point to kind of take stock of it, all your assets that you've got, all the engine stuff, all the stuff that went well, the stuff that went bad, and just kind of rebrand it as one big package known as like the world of Destiny, not with a number at the end. Because we know it's not going anywhere. The plan for no doubt Bungie is to keep going forever as an ever live present game. And I think people like Ubisoft and stuff probably wish they did the same with Division. With putting a number two on that, again, it's just segmenting your audience. And
to support what you've just said, to support what you've just said, the what they announced essentially is 4K 60 frames per second support is coming. They're going to be releasing beyond. It's going to be supported on current gen and next gen, and they're going to have crossplay between generations with the plan for full crossplay across all platforms coming in the future. And I think that there solidifies the fact that they're in it for the long run, because they're looking at graphically, improving everything about the game. We often talk about, Stadia from the get-go. We were told, 4K 60 all games, and now with Destiny 2, we got into it and people were sort of like, well, it's not. This is like your big title you're coming out with, and it's not. But now they're going to deliver on that promise. Yeah. So I'm truly excited for this. I'm loving the new season, and I'm really excited for the next expansion.
It's almost as if it's a well-established model in the MMO space. I mean, Blizzard have been doing that forever with World of Warcraft. We'll just keep adding to it. And people don't think, like, do you remember Dead Mines? They did a heroic Dead Mines for endgame players to go back to one of the original like dungeons. They could do that with the raids and stuff from Destiny 1 to work that back in.
Yep.
So, people love nostalgia, right? So keep going back to what works. Just keep delving back into it.
Well, they always said that it would be a 10-year franchise, so we've still got a couple of years left until 2014. So that kind of triggers with what you've just said, Tom, 21 to 22. They've not talked about beyond 22, so that would be the full 10 years. Now, whether at that point they call it a day, or see, Bungie have a history with Marathon, which was one of their first games that ran exclusively on the Mac. There were 3 in the title, and about 10 years after they concluded, they put them out there as freeware, and then a couple of years later they put the code out as open source code. So they definitely have a history of wanting to kind of archive a project and move on. So I think we can absolutely guarantee to 2024, but beyond then, who knows? But I do love the idea of this one holistic game in a kind of Warframe type way, which is just an ever expanding universe that doesn't, and of course cloud gives them the opportunity to create that, where they're no longer constrained, because certainly Destiny 1 was constrained by the fact that they had to bring the older consoles, the PS3 and the Xbox 360 along. And sadly, they felt they needed to move to Destiny 2 to shake off the old consoles and do some more technical stuff, but they sacrificed the story.
A lot of online like MMORPGs have had to do that, especially the ones that have released to console in the past. For those who don't know, I'm a big Final Fantasy fan, very near and dear to my heart. And even in the MMO world, I played Final Fantasy 11 to death. Final Fantasy 14, I'm still playing today. And those, 11 in particular was released on the Xbox 360 and the PS3. They eventually got to a point where, when it came to the hardware of those consoles, they got to a point where they just sort of said, well, we can't support PS3 anymore because it's just not up to scratch. So they had to shut it down at that point and say, we can't develop for the PS3 anymore. So those of you who've got PS3s, you can migrate to PS4, but we're not really going to be supporting it that much longer. And with 14 as well, which I currently play, same sort of scenario, really. There's going to be a point with those that come out to the current gen of consoles where they have to say, well, the hardware doesn't support what we want to do. So how do we get around that? Well, the answer is quite simple. It's cloud gaming. Like if we put it to the servers instead, and we upgrade the servers and the loaders on the servers graphically and from a processing perspective, then Bob's your uncle, basically. You don't have to worry about it. You can just keep going indefinitely.
Yeah. And it goes back to what I said earlier on about I haven't looked at a game in the last 4 or 5 years and thought that looks ugly. Like you put Destiny 2 in now, and it came out many, many years ago, it still looks graphically amazing to play. And if the gameplay is fun, why doesn't it end? I think we leave a lot of franchises in the dust on previous gen, like Tom alluded to, just purely because stuff looks nicer, stuff looks better. I want the next version, the next sequel to that game, because it's going to look much better than the game I had 10 years ago. I've got a shelf of games behind me they're very nostalgic to me, but they play like shit now because they're 10, 15 years old. Whereas if you can bring something I love and adore and make it ever present, add to it, evolve it over time, and I don't need to buy a new console or a new whole rig to play it, then surely that's the goal. That's what you want as a business model, something you can just keep adding to. Your player base stays there, and you just keep feeding them bit by bit, and they buy into it with DLC, expansions, cosmetics. Yeah. That's the dream, right?
Yeah, I think we just
that's the dream.
I think we kind of hit a point in gaming graphically where games that come now or over the last, like, say, 4 or 5 years, I think they're always going to look okay. Where you look at some of the previous generation stuff, like I'm a big Morrowind fan. That game is ugly as fuck.
You can't say that's coming out next week.
Not Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind, the original Elder Scrolls.
Oh, right, okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if we got Morrowind stealth dropped on us. Still in the back catalogue. Here's Daggerfall.
Go on, yourselves.
Very playable now. Like, so yeah.
No, it's all going to be. Is this our final season now, Tom? Is this the Destiny final season?
So this season, season 11, season of Arrivals is running for the next, I want to say 110 days, which I know sounds like a strange number.
Over 3 months.
Yeah, just over 3 months. So at which point it should run directly up until Beyond Light comes out.
Right. Okay.
So this will be the final in the current expansion. So in Shadowkeep, essentially. Yeah. What I do know is that the season passes that we got with Stadia Pro as well cover us for the first year. And I just want to thank the Stadia community for essentially going out and doing the research on that. Loads of people on Twitter reached out to me after I tweeted tons of stuff about Destiny yesterday. But we know that with the Stadia Pro deal of Destiny, we got the first year of annual passes. So that takes us up again, essentially, to... and then following on from that, the Beyond Light Deluxe Edition. I'm not sure if the base edition does, but the Deluxe Edition certainly comes with another year of season passes as well. So
it's 3 seasons,
Yeah, 3 seasons. So anybody who wants to get into that and still wants to continue with the season passes, definitely look to get the deluxe versions of that if you're looking to pre-order.
Yeah, no, I think I will. But as I've told you, I don't pre-order, so I will be buying it 24 hours before it launches. Yeah. Although, to be fair, and I only spotted this the other day, and I've not seen this before, if you do buy it now, if you pay for the pre-order now, you do get perks, a ghost, I think, an emote and so on that you can use now. You don't have to wait till it launches, which I think is a good way to justify a pre-order, because I don't know any other reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially when you can't preload it onto your console. You're going to get it within a second either way. So the pre-order is surely in the moment.
I'd be interested to do a bit more of a deeper dive as well into the. I mean, I don't want to get all legal on this, but look at the terms in the pre-orders, especially with those that are offering free digital content within a game like Destiny, as to what your rights are in relation to canceling that. Should you decide to cancel down the line, does having the digital content count as playing it?
I can actually tell you.
Excellent.
And believe it or not, our good friend Duncan informs me he tried to get a refund on his pre-order and was told no, because they don't refund DLCs.
Okay.
So there's a warning there, people. If you are going to pre-order and think you're going to get a refund before it launches, you won't do. And I don't think you will get the 2-week, 2-hour slot either, on the basis that they don't refund DLCs, they only refund the original game. So it's one to bear in mind.
Yeah, I can imagine that conversation at Stadia Source. Duncan, can you go do me a favour? Quickly buy the game and just refund it, just to see how the pro. And then Duncan goes, "Yeah, no problem. I'm £60 down now, Dan. Can I expense this back through Stadia Source, Dan?" No.
The sacrifices we make.
And talking of Stadia Source, one final piece, and then I'll let you guys get back to your lives. It's been the big news.
Back on Destiny, so
you just crack on, Tom. So it's been the big news of the week, and every show and every every stream really has covered this. And as I said to you guys beforehand, I toyed with whether or not to cover it, because bigger minds and better minds than mine have covered this recently. We've had Clive's take on this. We've had Chase's take on this. But you had some interesting thoughts on this earlier, so I thought it'd be quite useful to get your thoughts on the, as Richie said, the bigger picture.
Yeah, I mean, if you want an initial breakdown, our podcast is definitely up over an hour channel.
Yeah, no, you did a really good, breakdown.
I mean, it has changed slightly over the last 2 days since we recorded the show. The biggest thing was the article that Duncan's linking it to from Stadia Source here was now they stripped away the part that mentioned about the Stadia coming by the end of the year, and now they've re-added it back in, I believe, but it's been worded slightly differently. So someone over at CD Projekt Red has listened, but it still doesn't really give us as a Stadia community any clear of an indication as to if it's coming day and date or when it will be coming. This is kind of what's kind of fueling the fire, I think, but behind everyone's anger at the moment, because we just want that clear roadmap, which we've alluded to so often. But it's just one of those. We're waiting for an answer still. You can't really say more on it other than give us a date.
That's it. It's symptomatic of the communication issues and the murky messaging. It's like, when does this game come? Like, just when does it come? That's all we need to know.
Yes, that's it. One sentence.
Someone at Google, CD Projekt Red, must know when they plan to release this.
Yeah, I know a few people have pointed out, and Clive, I think, was one of the biggest ones who said that we were never promised it was coming day and date. It was originally supposed to be coming after the initial launch back in March, April, whenever it was originally scheduled for. And I think everybody, in my opinion, rightly so, once there was a 5-month delay added to the development of the game, we just presumed that would give them enough time to pull all those strings together and have it day and date. And I think everyone who's got Stadia was just excited for, yes, this delay means we've went way past the Stadia delay date, so hopefully now all the resources are going to get all nice together for a big shiny launch across all platforms. And here we are once again, bottom of the barrel, hanging fire for that little bit longer by the end of the year. So that's December 31st, 2020.
True, but there is a splash screen on the CD Projekt Red website with the Cyberpunk 2077 with the trailer that says coming 17th of September 2020, and it's got the trailer there, and underneath it has the logos for every single platform, including Stadia. So again, messaging is key. Like the way that it's portrayed, the way that it's actually perceived by ourselves as well. You can see where the confusion comes from, because if it's there and it's underneath the video, when last I checked it was there, you just suddenly have to start thinking, well, I'm getting one message from one person, one message from another. So
I think the only change in the wording today was the word debut was taken out, so it no longer says it will be debuting on Stadia, and I think that's purely semantics, because it was never debuting on Stadia. It may have been a debut for Stadia, but semantically, of course, it was coming out before then. What do you guys think? I subscribe to this theory. What do you guys think that they launch it the same time that they release for the next gen consoles, and therefore see it as a next gen release?
Yeah, this is what I alluded to on our recent episode of the podcast as well. The wording of saying by the end of the year sort of lines it up with what we're currently expecting from next gen, because we don't have a real solid date for that yet. And I do feel like that we might possibly be at the point that while 2077 is coming out on current gen, we know it's also being prepared for next gen as well. So if we're in that sort of limbo of being in between two platforms, perhaps Google have or the Stadia team, I should say in particular, have sort of made an executive decision of saying, well, people will wait, won't they, for the next generation version when they get the better graphical fidelity, for example. And then it's sort of like a free-for-all. It's sort of everybody's own opinion at that point. But that's what I think has happened behind the scenes. Whether it'll pay off or not is...
I'm of the opinion the smart move from Google is this is potentially the biggest game in the year, is to make sure absolutely this is day and date with whatever comes out first, whether it's PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, or Xbox. You need to be day and date at least to show that you are in the mix. It being delayed makes it feel almost like you can be considered as a secondary platform. you're not as important to the others. So if it's because, we could wait for better graphics and match up with PS5, or we could release now on PS4. I'm going PS4. Like, with the release date, it's just...
Well, they don't actually, I mean, looking here at the press release, they don't even mention the next-gen consoles anyway, do they? There's no mention there of PS5 or Xbox Series 1 or whatever it's called. So, there's even a debate as to whether there is a next-gen version of it.
Yeah, they have confirmed, because Microsoft, CD Projekt Red tweeted specifically about saying that if you buy Cyberpunk on the current Xbox platform, you get it for free on the Series X, which is why the news and such have pushed back on Sony now to say, if we buy it on PlayStation 4, is that the same method for PlayStation 5? To which Sony haven't given a roadmap for what their future forward compatibility is yet. Obviously, the argument on Stadia is if we get it day and date, it's going to be the best version always available. But this is where we're in that muddied water of mixed messages and no one being clear to say, so are Stadia players going to be getting a better version of it? And this is where we just need that sense of clarity. And I hope a lot of the silence does just come from, while Xbox and PlayStation are keeping their next-gen cards so close to the chest right now, and maybe once the dam breaks tomorrow with PS5 and Xbox have the next announcement, Stadia can finally, the lock around their mouth is open and they're allowed to say, yep, we've been waiting all along. We are coming. It's going to be the best version, the next-gen version, day and date when it's available on PS5, Xbox Series X. Yes. But at the moment, we just sit here in silence waiting. And that's the problem. No news is not necessarily good news when it comes to having the latest, biggest game of the year coming out and you're not there to play ball.
No, and there's no reason at all why they may, okay, it's understood. They may, for various reasons, legal, contractual, for marketing reasons, they may not be able to specifically tell us anything, but they could at the very least say, we will have an announcement for you in a week's time. We're going to be doing a launch. We're going to be having a reveal at the IGN Summer of Gaming, and we hope to talk about some interesting things with you then. So it doesn't have to be specific, but at least it's some level of communication, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Soon.
Just telling us you can't talk about it, it's something.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, well, just even saying we're waiting on CD Projekt Red to give us the latest update. Again, at least that passes the news on to them. At least we know as players, it's not down to them. It's down to CD Projekt Red. But again, it's all just about a bit of clarity, isn't it?
Absolutely right. And of course, I'm not sure if you guys saw Duncan tweeted earlier. I think it was a retweet of somebody had asked Google Stadia about the Destiny pre-order. At which point it had already gone live on the store, and the response from Stadia was, "Oh, well, you have to ask Bungie about our partners at Bungie about that." It was like, well, hang on, everybody knows but you.
Also, it's already on your store, so what? Yes. What?
It is sad.
That lack of control of the messaging, you wouldn't get that from Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo. They'd know what's going on.
I think you see it. I think the difference between Stadia is because every game announcement is just the spotlight's on it immediately now, because it's such a threadbare library in comparison to the other big players. So with this being, like you said, Richie, potentially the biggest game of the year, it's certainly probably the biggest third-party game of the year. All news is on it, especially because so many people were expecting it day and date. It's just getting blew out of proportion. And while we're sat here waiting, day 11 of no updates from any Google social media front, people are just making their own stories up, and that's what's going to happen while you sit silently on the wayside.
Yes. Unfortunately, nature abhors a vacuum, and it will always fill it. So they've only got themselves to blame for that. Well, on that very optimistic and hopeful note, gentlemen, that just about brings us to an end as far as the week's news is concerned. Thank you very much for sparing your time today, and it's really lovely to. I think it's the first time we've actually done anything together other than on other people's shows, isn't it?
Yes.
Which is it's an absolute privilege. Thank you very much indeed. Now I've been bannering your details at the bottom, but if you wanted to embellish and put more into that, you're more than welcome.
Oh yes, certainly. We always use a platform for that. Obviously, we bring you the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Episode 38 is going up next Monday. It goes up every Monday. We've got that routine pretty much locked in. We also have a Let's Play series going at the moment where my co-host Richie is currently playing through Lost Words Beyond the Page. He's just about to wrap up on that story. He downs a full bottle of wine through the whole playthrough and gets
hide the pain. Hide the pain, Richie. Hide the pain.
I'll get you in on Friday.
It's mildly drunk and emotional. So what more do you want on a Saturday morning other than a watch through of that? And I myself am currently I'm scheduled to do part 4 of my Assassin's Creed Odyssey playthrough on we've done the Road to Valhalla. Initially it was Project Stream. I got an email about playing Odyssey, so I started off playing it myself, and here we are. I'm already many hours into this. It works, everybody. It works. But yeah, so that's the plan is to go live probably this Friday afternoon with another weekly stream of that. I am planning to schedule a little bit later to try and get some of our American audience in, because we know time zones can be a little bit tricky. So we might be going live potentially even 10 p.m. UK time, which will allow the guys over in the States as they're coming up to their evening dinner time to jump on and watch. But other than that, just keep it locked to our Twitter feeds, our YouTube channel, like and subscribe. As you know, like and subscribe to Rokk as well down below. Who doesn't want to listen to such a soothed, subtle British voice?
Again, that's why I agreed to come on
radio. Just the voice, just the voice.
Relaxed.
But yeah, everything's happening. But I think I speak for the other guys as well. We'll just say, thanks for having us on. Thanks for reaching out. We did say this week we're not just a package. We do come as separate individuals, but we are definitely at our best when we come as a trio. Just like what's the ice cream? Neapolitan. You can take your different colour. Chalk ice, yeah. Fab, yeah. Richie can be the core base, Tom can be the ice cream bit, and I'll be the sprinkles on top.
I'll take the ice cream bit. It's the best bit, in my opinion. So
that's why you're the best, boys.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Guys, thank you very much indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm looking forward to show number 38. And hopefully there'll be some interesting news with IGN for you.
Well, we'll have to drag the show out if not. So hopefully, Stadia, if you're listening, give us some news.
Give us something.
Yeah, exactly. Take care, guys. Have a cracking week. Chat, thank you ever so much for being in. It's been fascinating to read some of your stuff. Sorry, as always, I'm bothered to talk to you, but that is part of what I do. And I will see you all on Friday night for Rockstars at Night, or whatever I call it. Something to do with Rokk.
Fantastic.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.